Content warnings for this episode: racism, fascism, child death.
Gemini, 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 Movie Podcast. Gemini, 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 Movie Podcast. Yeah.
Hello everybody for everyone's podcast about Gemini movies. I'm your host, Alice Wool of Water, and my co-host?
I gotta hand it to Ayn Rand for saying that Sign of the Pagan is kinda doo-doo ass.
Wow! The well Iron Man face in
Yeah.
the podcast.
She mentions it in some kind of article in like one line, and she talks shit about it. And
Yeah.
I agree. That's the one time I can agree with Ayn Rand.
Doesn't usually happen. I'm Ludovico.
Wow.
We're really going into the depths of depravity in hell today.
Yeah, this is bad. This is the first Gemini movies where I heard both movies, and it's just, we are going like, this is like, the vibes are worse than this. The vibes are fucking worse.
Yeah, this is gonna like be one of the more unprofessional ones, even though we are doing like professional diligence by calling out the bullshit. But we're not really gonna be that invested in like talking about the cinematography and shit.
I was just saying, both of these movies are bad. They're bad. Normally we do a part in this where we say which movie we like. I will just skip that before we even do our what we watched or what we did this month thing. Don't watch these movies. They're bad. They're racist.
I will say that Attila is slightly better than Sign of the Pagan, but that's like saying there's less people that died in World War II than in World War I, so it's not that great still.
Yeah.
So okay, before we are gonna like really shit on these movies, let's just take a little leave and talk about something we actually enjoyed and we did this month. So you want to start, Alice?
Yeah, so I have not been doing a lot this month, but I've watched a show currently airing that I really like. It's called Skip and Loafer, Skip to Loafer in like the translation. The more literal translation, it's romance comedy anime, comedy high school anime. There's like a girl who's in love with like a boy with like bleach blonde hair. It's a very like the premise itself is like barely like both romance or high school anime, but what it does is the character writing is fantastic because both characters are just the most dark people ever. So like there's a scene in one of the episodes where like one of the main characters just finds a cat and picks up the cat, and it goes into this monologue about, oh no, what happened if I pick up this cat? What bad things happen or good things happen? It's like both characters are written in this very way. I don't say in a lot of romance where they're just kind of like very anxious weirdos that fundamentally overthink everything.
You like that kind of character, right?
Yeah, I will because I am that character in a way. So I think that does good, and the side cast is often, it combines this kind of not wacky absurd, but like this kind of like just slightly silly humor with like barely realistic kind of laid back stakes because the characters are basically almost just dating. So what you have is just these interactions in high school in romance that just lead to these funny moments and just are so much more lower moments that have to do with the characters introspection. Also, there's one of the main girl characters like aunt in this is trans woman, and the way they depict the transness is pretty decent. I like it. There's like early on, I've also read the manga. Early on, there's like a scene where she's like on the train and like faces some transphobic bullying, but like she forgets that because she's like holding hands with her husband that I thought was like pretty good and like pretty decently handled for like something written by like a still author. It's a show that very much cares about like its characters and like the situations they are in, which I find very interesting. Yeah, it's just a very good romance comedy. I really actually like it. It's very good.
Yeah, it sounds pretty nice.
Yeah.
So since we're talking about history today, I guess I'm just gonna bring up the witch museum I visited yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
The Windsor Museum. Nothing to do with the Windsor.
It was witches, although there's some warlocks in there too.
Wow. Wait, the
Yeah.
warlocks? Really?
Yeah, warlocks were just male witches. What they called male witches in medieval times.
Okay. So what did you...
It was pretty interesting. Like, it has a weird mix of like the target audience is like half people who are like into Wicca and witchcraft and probably just want to like look up stuff and like be confirmed in their beliefs, I guess. And the other half is actually very interesting, like folklore and history stuff about like different magic systems, polytheism, divination, all that kind of occult stuff. So I was really there for that second aspect.
That's interesting. Two questions. Is that this is like a state museum, public museum, or like by some person? And
I think it's some private museum. It's in a castle. That makes it cooler.
Wow, it's in a castle.
Yeah, there's a mirror monolith in front of the castle. That's also pretty cool.
Is this like about like witches in specific in Switzerland, or is this like Europe in general, like the world?
It
like
goes pretty internationally. Like, I'm pretty sure they get a bunch of stuff wrong about the international stuff because they go. There's like talk about like Santeria and voodoo and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it focused heavily on like the witch hunts in Switzerland of like the 15th to 17th century. And I guess there it does like a good job of like showing different historical people and like how they reacted to it, what the Pope said, what the Jesuit priests said, and all that shit.
Oh, it's okay. Not to the latest much, but what the Pope say? I was wondering what
The Pope was
says.
actually, because like the Protestantism was like riling up in Switzerland, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of the witch burnings were done by Protestant governments and shit.
Yeah.
The Pope was actually like, hey, can you chill out a bit?
Wow.
The Pope was like, hey, maybe you're burning a bit too many people.
Wow, weird Pope Victory.
Rare Pope W, yeah.
Worst guy you know makes a good point.
But yeah, if you're ever in Switzerland, I would recommend checking it out. It gets kind of kitschy at points. Like, there's a lot of like modern paintings of gnomes and shit. There's like a bunch of statues that are definitely not historical that they use. Like, there's like a mix of historical and ahistorical stuff. So it's not like it's a pure font of knowledge, but it filled some holes in my like folklore knowledge of like Swiss stuff. So it was cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice win. Okay.
Let's lose.
I just wanted to ask you one more question. Yes or no, very quickly, because you mentioned gnomes. Are the Smurfs no? Are the Smurfs gnomes? Yes or no, quickly.
They're gnomes, kinda, yeah.
Okay,
they're gnomes.
We got the question, the important question of the podcast answered. Now let's go to the racism.
Okay, so before we instead of taking you back in time, because like fuck that shit, we're gonna get back in time either way because we're gonna talk about some problematic elements of these movies.
Yeah.
We're just gonna talk about three big things that both these movies like have and that are very bad.
Yeah.
Let's start out with both of these movies cast people who are white and then give them yellow face.
Yes.
Attila and other characters are just like made to wear yellow face, and we're all just meant to sit with that. And the wild thing is like we can't 100% prove Attila was like totally Asian or something, so they could have just like not given them yellow face and everything would have been okay, you know. There's stuff from like the 2000s that has Western actors portraying Attila, and they're not wearing yellow face, you know.
Yeah, it's like the yellow face is like really very much like part of like it's both horror in itself and part of like what both movies do with this, because they both frame we talk about this later, but they both frame this as like the hands like this evil, scary, so-called savages from the east, from the non-west, scary. So because of that, you have like them make as possibly non-white as possible for various ends. Side of the Pagan, which is the Hollywood one, somehow gets much more racist than even the fucking Italian one, made by Italian white people, because it makes Attila's face so much more. It makes the hands much more darker in skin.
Yeah.
So they become like much browner also.
Yeah, they're meant to look Mongolian. Is kind of what I read it as.
Yeah. So it's bad even for this like era. Just like, of course, like this history in like cinema of the West in Hollywood of just like putting non-white people, putting like white people as like non-white people, specifically like brown face and white face. The specific yellow face specifically has like a median problematic connotations. It's horrific. It's bad. Both of the movies use them for political ends of us, like those scary people from Asia, where you have the good woman soldiers that are the most whitest people as possible, which we have historical records of the Romans not being like very white actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of mixing there. Like they were pretty multinational, even like because they were such a big empire.
Yeah.
Which brings us to like the second thing, which is like the noble savage trope. Because in both of these movies, Attila is like this wild guy that has to be like saved, but he's also like very noble.
Yeah,
like,
it's good.
He is this like wise leader that just wants to conquer, and he just can't stop himself conquering, but also like he has honor and all that shit.
Yeah, it's very much going into the things of like the Bavaria. It's going very much into tropes of like Asian barbarian tribes that are like noble, but still weird and fallen and bad. Yeah. It's like both fetishizing certain parts of that, but still putting them as like, okay, you have some good things here, but you're still inferior in your culture, in your ways. And it frames that like Manson alongside the putting the Romans as like, oh yeah, they're falling apart. They're falling a bit apart, but they're still noble and Roman.
Yeah, both of these movies used the line at some point like, we're gonna save civilization today. Which, if you know about like fascism, that's not a great line, you know? That's not a great thing to say when you go fight an enemy. It's like, oh, we're gonna save civilization now. And that's also a framing that's often used with like the wars between the Huns and the Romans. That like, if the Huns had won, Western civilization would have fallen. And it's just, a lot of historians say that's bullshit.
Yeah, because here's the thing, the Roman Empire, even if they won versus the Huns, they were falling apart and fell apart. And they basically stopped existing after a while. Besides the Eastern Roman Empire, which was like its own bootleg thing.
Yeah, so they made their own bootleg version there.
So like it's very much focusing. Both movies were focusing on the nobles, have like the circle, like focusing on like the noble barbarian thing is like. They're very much going into the tropes of like using like, even if they're presented as noble, they're going, oh, this disgusting groups of people, they have some good things, and that's scary because they're gonna put their bad things and they're gonna take over the West.
Isn't it scary that our opponents are still human? That's fucked up.
It's like it's genuinely horrific. We laugh, but it's genuinely horrific how both of these movies use that as part of like let's stay at top colors. This movies are very obviously racist, but they also, like Luda points out, use rhetoric very similar to actual fascism. Like Mussolini, Italian fascism long has a history of like using Rome and using Roman battles as like this way of like protecting, but like the so-called like protection of Rome, protection of true Italy. Like this idea of like, oh yeah, the white Rome was also want to defend itself against those zebra scary people. And both of those movies are just full-on bought into this genuinely fascistic, racist ideology.
Yeah.
With
It kind of leads into the third aspect that is deeply bad, and it's like the Christian dogmatism about like, oh yeah, Attila, he was totally scared of Jesus and God.
so two things. So most of these movies basically depict, Side of the Pagan specifically both depicts in various ways the two parts. But first, Side of the Pagan basically depicts in both movies, but specifically Side of the Pagan basically depicts Attila as a vampire. Because literally he sees a cross and it's like, oh no, the cross! I'm weak to the cross! It's like a fucking... Which makes sense because Dracula was like this whole thing about those scary Eastern Europeans, so like it all ties back to like Eastern Western imperialism and xenophobia. Like it's very much this thing of like there's this idea. Both movies have this like very much Christian fascist ideology of like the noble cross is gonna defeat the Huns, and both do it in different ways. The Italian production of Attila is much more Catholic, while Side of the Pagan is much more Basilica Protestant. But both of them do have the scene where both of these movies have scenes where the Pope just basically defeats Attila with logic.
Yeah, with Christian faith. Like he just meets him and talks to him like, you know, God is pretty cool. And then Attila is like, you might be right. And then he goes off.
Yeah, like both of these movies do it in very interesting so-called ways, because the Italian one focuses very much on like the holiness of the Pope on his horse.
That scene is actually almost cool. Like the Pope, like at the lake, and like his army of cross bearers. They're like doing kind of a Warhammer 40k thing there.
Yeah, it's like if this was not like fucking Western imperialism, racism propaganda, I would. If you like put this in like, I don't know, like a Warhammer 40k like novel or something, it would go heck yeah. It would still be bad, but like slightly less bad than like whatever we are doing here. Like fundamentally, the Italian one goes. The Pope with Santa, with the power of the God, is explaining to this evil one, and
they also
scaring here.
They kind of equate the Roman Empire, the late Roman Empire, with Catholicism and the Pope,
which is like its whole historical kind of worms.
It just reinforces like Rome as this perfect society, like the Christianized Rome is so cool. And like can defeat anybody, and that's why they fucked up. They fucked up because they had a weak leader, of course.
The American one goes more into like a Protestant thing, because I think if I remember the movie, he baptizes Attila basically, doesn't he? Like the Pope isn't there like a baptism thing?
I totally tuned out during that scene. Like I didn't even recognize, he talked to the Pope in this movie, because like I was so done with it. I was pissed off.
In the inside of the Pagan, Attila there's much more. It's still the Pope because this is technically seen based on real life. Ludo can explain that the historicalness then later, but inside of the Pagan they go into much more just Christian like American Protestant shit under the camouflage of the Pope, which is its whole fascinating kind of worms. But yeah, Ludo, explain the historicalness of the Pope thing.
So
Because
the Pope Leo the First actually met Attila. That's pretty well documented. The thing is, nobody knows what the fuck they talked about. So there's a lot of like mythologizing about stuff like, did he like make him fear God or like make him see the wrongs of his ways, even though it could just be that like he gave him a bunch of money to like piss off, or maybe he like explained to him that like Italy was having a drought and they would all fucking starve if he didn't piss off. You know, there could be a lot of different things they talked about. We're never gonna know.
Yeah, there's this big mythologizing, specific by right-wing historians, of the whole Battle of the Hands, which I have to explain. The only reason the Romans were in a fucking bad state, one versus the Hands, was because there was literally a drought in Rome. There was literally bad material conditions.
Yeah.
It was just bad material conditions. It was not the superior logic of Roman battle tactics.
Yeah, the Pope didn't just like show him a cross and said like, "You're going to hell, bro." Attila probably realized that like his army couldn't sustain itself in a longer campaign, and so he just pissed off.
And it's not like Attila died or anything.
No, he died later. Like he dies in sign of the pagan by Roman hands, and then the fucking sword has a cross shadow.
This is so fucking...
Like, they just invented a new form of... They just invented him dying and then made it a Jesus thing too. And this is a problem. This is a problem of Sword and Sandals movies from America from that time. The target demographic was basically Christians.
Yeah,
They basically made Christian propaganda set in Roman times. And so they filled it with all this like bullshit about like, oh, Romans, they were like sinners, and then Christianity saved them from sin. And like, oh, all these barbarians, they saw the true way of Jesus. Like, half of the sign of the pagan is just Attila thinking about God and talking about God. It's like, it's fucked up. It's like an unhealthy fixation.
It's very interesting because like we need to put the context of the Southern Sandal movie in America, because in Italy it's much more complicated. Same with Greece. The Southern Sandal movie in America, and specifically that 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, their new Hollywood basically ideas, specifically in movies of American movies of Southern Sandals and stuff like that, of like ancient Rome and ancient Greece. Those are part of like an ideological on-purpose campaign by a lot of people in American media and American society at that point to like just make America be seen as not another part of Europe culturally, with like what in reality that means is just like white and Christian.
Yeah.
And you see an ideology of these movies and even stuff I like Jason in the Argonauts and everything, because it's Americans seeing a NATO code, so but reflecting and just putting it to an ideological lens of this is the good Christian society.
Kind of weird how like the Americans identified with Romans, who were, you know, an expansionist, violent empire.
Wow.
Kind of weird.
Fucked up. I wonder why.
Yeah, nobody will know. Nobody could tell.
In Italy, and like I said, Greece, it's much more complicated because those are actually countries that experiences those histories. And while they were like Attila's an Italian movie, they were actually people very much just using that as like part of their own history and dealing even with issues, because a lot of those actors are still white Europeans. But they were like a lot of these people, at least it was modern Christian propaganda. You had like that Fellini movies, Attila Corner. It was a lot of the Italian ones at least noticed that Rome was fucked up in a way, and that's just the Nova heroes.
Or at least they kept it off. There were like different movements inside that genre, unlike in America where it was kind of one type of movie for the most part, with some exceptions like the Kubrick what is called the Spartacus movie, for example.
Spartacus.
Yeah, but those were rare exceptions. While in Italy there were like nationalist ones, but there were also more like historically accurate ones, or ones that like explored different subjects like homosexuality in the empire, or all these things. So there was more range in the Italian Swords and Sandals movie.
Yeah, and while America, of course, was going through its own social movements in the 1650s, questioning that, there was also in Italian society its own social movements, specifically questioning its own history, specifically the fastest lie about Rome, said by like Mussolini and people, which is important to note. But yeah, both of these movies are just very much just swimming in both different ways, and just this kind of nationalist question, like Western propaganda versus the superiority of Romans. Again, the Romans were so fucked up in this time. I love it, like how both of these movies put one of the worst Roman emperors as like this weird noble hero, because no, not even the guy, his mom.
Yeah, in one of the movies, it's basically his mother who does all the decisions, and he's just like completely incompetent. He's basically the Italian stereotype of the mama's boy, you know.
Did you look up into the guy in like his mom in real life? Because I don't know that context in that part, but it's very weird in both movies.
Yeah, I didn't look that up too much, but it's a very common Italian stereotype. Basically, the weak man who like is controlled by his mother. It's like a very Italian thing.
Yeah, but what else do you have to say about this movie, Lodo?
So I'm gonna like light it up a bit just before we go into the main segment, and that segment we're gonna like keep pretty short, because like the important part is what we just talked about. I think the rest, like, you shouldn't watch these movies. So do you actually care if the soundtrack is good? No.
I was just gonna say, if you're gonna make a very effective movie, you really got to make it like slap for me to go, yeah, the music in this is very good. You understand?
Yeah, and it's not good enough for that.
Yeah.
But before we go into the main segment, I just wanted to talk about the Sword of Mars.
Oh yeah, let's go. The massacre song.
Okay, so according to legend, Attila had like a magic sword, the Sword of Mars, and it was like a sign of dominion, of his power. And there's different myths, like how they like charged it up with lightning and shit. It's like basically a prelude to like stuff like Excalibur. And Hungarian nationalists totally believe that shit is real. And there's one of these swords that's apparently the sword that's in the Vienna Habsburg collection. And the thing is, that sword is dated to the 10th century. So like 500 years after Attila. But no, It's totally the real thing. Just trust the Hungarian nationalists.
It reminds me quickly. It reminds me of how there was a French museum claiming that they have Salamanca's sword, which they claim it's Excalibur, which is also very good.
Yeah. It's always good when people like make up weird shit about swords.
it's the master, though. It's gonna.
That's just Europe, you know, making up weird shit about swords. So yeah, let's get to the main segments. Let's knock this one out of the park so we can all go on with our lives.
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna like lightning around this shit. I'm telling you. I don't want to talk about these movies no more. Okay. Let's start with Attila cast and acting. I'm gonna read off the cast so we all can know who to like blame. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Attila, that's the Italian one. Anthony Quinn is Attila. Sophia Loren is Honoria. Henry Vidal is Aetius. Claude Laidu is Valentiano Caesar. Irene Papas is Grune. And Colette Regie is Gala Placidia. Okay, that's enough. Oh no, we got also Ettore Manni as Bleda, the brother of Attila. That's enough. Okay, I mean the acting in the Italian one isn't horrible. Like it's pretty expressive as Italians tend to be in their acting, you know. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Do you have anything to say about the acting?
It's bad.
It's not great.
It's I've seen a lot of Italian like B-list exploitation cinema, and this is really messing the lower one when it comes to the acting. It's not even that funny.
No, it's not. It has one funny moment, but I'm gonna talk about it in the plot.
Wow, that's
because
not
it
the
has
Pope
one
moment?
hilarious moment.
Okay, let's go. What the other one?
Sign of the Pagan, 1954. Jeff Chandler as Marcian. Jack Palance as Attila. Ludmila Cherina as Princess Pulcheria. Rita Gam as Kubra. Jeff Morrow, General Paulinius. George Doland as Emperor Theodosius. And that's it.
Wow.
Okay, the acting in this is shit. I hate Attila in this one. I really hate what Jack Palance does. He does like a Shakespeare thing, but also like out of control. He apparently hurt actresses while acting because he was so barbarian. He's fucked up.
It's just doing the thing a lot of old 50s and 40s Hollywood movies do, where they just have historical dramas where they just have like fake British accents and this bad, like, not melodramatic, but just this bad kind of stiff acting, which is fine in melodramas or something, but this just does nothing.
Yeah, it just rings hollow.
It's just very bad.
Okay,
Also,
let's move. Oh, do you have anything else?
No, I was just gonna say, so apparently this was made because one of the producers, or the Pagan was made because one of the producers saw like an actress, and like went, "This will be my new style," and then since she showed up in like 6 movies.
Also, Jack Palance thought this was like a great project that he really believed in. Just so you all know, he really wanted to wear the yellow face. He really was into it.
Very much proud of the fucking yellow face. Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Let's proceed.
Attila, plot. Usual swords and sandals fair. There's some moments. There's 3 moments. There's like the Pope Leo the First meeting that looks kind of cool. There's the like battle at the end where there's a big cavalry charge, and I like big cavalry charges, so that's just me. And then there's... Okay. So after a battle, Attila chills out with his son on the battlefield, just showing him the corpses. Like, hey, look, this is a battlefield. This is full of corpses. And then a dying Roman soldier takes his bow and no-scopes the kid.
Question, was that real, Ludo?
No. There's no historical record of that shit. It's just so hilarious.
It's like quite a few moments where like the propaganda just becomes like very funny in how over the top it is.
Yeah, and the Roman says like sorry for shooting your kid before he dies because he's so honorable. He's a Roman, you know. They're all very honorable. He's like, sorry for shooting your kid. I'm dying now. God.
Well, we're just Hans fake here made for this movie.
Yeah. Okay, sign off the pay. Do you have anything to say about the plot of Attila?
No.
Okay.
The only thing is the Pope scene is funny. That's it.
Okay, sign off the pagan plot. Jesus saves. So, do you think Attila went to heaven at the end?
Maybe. Okay,
Yeah, I don't know either.
Very quick thing about the question set, but you mentioned this, but this has you mentioned this in a private car thing very quickly, but this has like Mormon energy. Because you mentioned like how the Mormons just like would baptize every non-Western religion people, and like just like even just like communists, just like you're now saved when they die. This feels very Mormon.
Yeah, they're very much playing with this idea that like maybe Attila will see the Christian way.
This is like not uniquely Mormon, but specifically how over the top this just makes me think of Mormons.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, let's go.
Attila, teams. Romans good. Attila was a noble savage. Weak leaders made Rome fall.
It's very interesting. I'll say this very quick at Attila. But yeah, they really do play up the thing in Attila much more, saving Rome.
Yeah.
This is very much saving private Rome. Like, it's very much a lot of it focused on the ideas of Rome. It's decadent, but it must be need saving.
Yeah, they
It's
also
like-
invent a battle at the end so Attila can lose that battle.
Yeah, there's like a lot of Italian piety in specific to not Italians' grievances about losing Rome in this. That's very much interesting in how repulsive it is, because it's very much ties into Italian nationalism and stuff like that. That's
Yeah, and the Catholic thing, because Rome wasn't even the capital of the Roman Western Empire at the time, so who cares? It was only the seat of the Pope.
It's interesting how repulsive it is. In general, the themes, not a lot to say because it's both the movies are exactly the same, but Attila is much more focused on the Italian guilt and Italian stuff, Italian Catholic set over losing Rome and stuff like that.
Okay, teams. Sign of the Pagan. Attila was scared of that Jesus guy.
Yeah, Sign of the Pagan is much more question thing. It feels like now American questions say it because it feels very much I was saying already that's in parts for a moment, but it just feels like every version of every fucking branch of American Christianity, where it's just specifically about this panic about using the iconography of Jesus to an over-the-top way to scare the enemy.
Look, you gotta kill the Hun to save the man.
But it very much uses that because while that sits styling Attila, it's very much focused on the Pope. While inside the Pagan, it's all of Christianity. Just anything fucking Christian scares Attila. It's this idea of the noble Christianity. It's very American, very American. Add that to the theme of Sign of the Pagan. It's American. Americanism.
Yeah. In cultural relevance, I just wrote on both movies as a note, no.
No one cares. No one fucking cares about the racism movies.
Yeah, I hope these movies get forgotten forever, except as an example of racism.
Maybe it was sold in Hungary as a part of some TV channel, Attila movie marathon or something, but besides that,
I don't think so, because Attila loses and they want Attila to be cool, right?
Yeah. I cannot. Also, I just realized this is more interesting than both movies. I just realized that Hungary is probably its name is a reference to the Huns. Hungary.
That's a theory, as far as I know. Yeah.
Wow.
They were chilling out there in the 400s. That's true.
Wow, I found that I found country names. They matter. That's more interesting than both of these movies. But but no one cares about this. Those just unless you're weirdos like us that watch bad movies for our podcast with the weird ideas. No one's care. No one cares about this.
Yeah. Even people who don't mind the fucking racism seem to not like this movie. These movies. They're not high rated. Any review that talks about them and not mentions the racism is still damn, this shit isn't good.
Both of these movies are by kind of important people in both of the kinds of cinema. Sign of the Pagans by Douglas Sirk, one of the most important melodrama directors in at least the fucking West. And Attila is by Daniel Laurentiis, a weirdo film producer guy from Italy who owned a football club and was barely shady, but also made shit a bunch of exploitation movies with Mario Barb and stuff. Even fans of both people that made a lot of movies don't care about these movies. They're not the best work or anything.
Okay, let's just move on. Attila, cinematography. It's
looks
all
like-
right.
It looks like shit.
Yeah, it's not great.
They saw it in like. Did we find out where they saw the movie at?
The other one is the first CinemaScope movie,
Yeah.
but
Was
this
this-
one
was
is
this
just
based on-
this one is just nothing. I guess the battles are okay, but that's it.
The battles are kind of impressive. How many people are there?
Yeah.
But besides that, if it's just nothing. It's nothing.
Okay, Sign of the Pagan cinematography, not as good as Attila.
It's bad. It's bad. It feels like the worst of the set of like Hollywood historical dramas where everything feels so stiff and how it looks and shot. You can very much notice it was shot on a stage and not in the good way. We're like, oh, this is very much like a play. This is very much playing on the idea of movies as a play, or playing with the artifice of cinema, or just looks interesting. No, it looks shot on a stage.
Yeah, stiff is really the best word to describe it. It kind of comes off like a bad theater production.
Both of these movies are very stiff, stoic work in a way I just find very uninteresting.
Mm-hmm.
Music?
Soundtrack. You know how these movies sound. That's what I wrote for both.
These just are the most generic.
Like, let me give you some samples. Ba ba da da. Dun dun dun. Da, 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 da.
It's the most generic of like Western, like epic cinema composing.
Yeah,
Because-
all sorts and sandals shit sounds the exact same to me.
It's like you heard Star Wars. It's amazing. That's it. Now imagine what if that repeated a million times.
Yeah, with
What if-
no memorable melodies or anything.
It's just like dun 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 dun.
I think we're good here. I don't have any funny historic thing to end on. I guess Honoria, who is one of the like Roman empress relatives, tried to like make a deal with Attila, and historians interpreted it as offering her hand in marriage to him, and that's kind of in both movies a bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of interesting, and we don't even know where she died or when she died, so it's like very unclear what happened there.
Okay, do I do the numbers in later? Because fuck both of these movies. Don't watch them. They're waste of piece of shit.
Yeah, just forget about this episode. If you listened until this, why the fuck? Why are you here?
We hate these movies. We hate them. They're both waste of piece of crap.
Yeah, this was our nostalgia critic type episode.
We destroyed the racism. So
I shot the movies with a gun at the end.
Now I'm gonna do another sound. Blam blam. I'm shooting the movies. Blam blam.
Oh, yeah, blam blam.
That's how guns sound. I'm a 6-year-old anyway. Let's go.
Okay.
Let me just do and
RG.
random numbers on later. Okay. Let's go. What movies we have?
Please, not another racist one.
Life up number 66. 166. Life after bed and bullying the ex.
Okay. That's both about getting over a relationship breakup, as far as I know.
They're both zombie comedies. Also.
Yeah, they're both zombie romantic comedies, which is a genre that just existed for some reason for a while.
People love zombies. I don't know. Wait, one of this is by Joe Dante? Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Okay. Second Joe Dante on the podcast, right?
Yeah, movie nights and Gemini Movies regular Joe Dante.
Okay, so thanks y'all for listening. I hope you suffered as much as we did.
I hope the next movies are good. Let's go.
Yeah, see y'all. Bye.
Wait, plugs. Plugs.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Alles Soort of Water on Alles Soort of One on Twitter, Alles Soort of Water on Twitch, Zulke van Portugal on co-host, etc. etc.
Yeah, Ludovico_limited, Twitter co-host. You know how it is.
Yeah, let's go.
Bye.
Bye.